on what's going on out there. And usually Ed gives us that news, but I'm taking the reins on it where there's appropriate major stuff, because there is some major stuff today. This is really surprising, and well, maybe not all that surprising, given the fact that we know he wants to play again, and we know he has not been welcomed back into his band, which of course is Judas Priest, which he is a founding member of. I'm talking about KK Downing, who's been on this show a number of times and has made it clear he'd like to play again, has made it clear he'd like to play Judas Priest music again, in light of Judas Priest not having the services of Glenn Tipton, certainly for live touring foreseeably any time in the near future. I'm assuming, like a lot of fans, we all thought maybe the door would be open for KK to come back so that one of the guitar positions in the band would at least be manned by one of the people who created the lion's share of their classic music. But that door remains closed to KK. As he said when he was on this show last time, you can't shop in a store where it's closed and not open to you, when I asked him if he would like to come back to the band. So he is clearly on the outs with Judas Priest, whether it's past history, whether it's the book he wrote, whatever it is. They're just not mending this bridge with KK. Now KK has decided he's going to go out and do essentially his own version of Judas Priest, which, if you want to be technical, has one less original member in it than the current version of the band. Technically speaking, that's true, because Priest, as currently constituted in terms of a touring entity, the original members there are Halford and Ian Hill. Yes, I know Glenn Tipton is battling bravely his illness, and God knows we all hope for the best for Glenn, but history tells us with that horrible disease, and past and recent history for Judas Priest tells us that unfortunately Glenn, probably pretty unlikely we're going to see him playing live with the band again or anytime in the near future. God, I hope that's not the case and that's not true. But again, we've seen this before, unfortunately. And the recent Priest touring, he has not been included. Now, that being said, behind the scenes, Glenn is still, I'm sure, a very big contributing force, as much as he can be to Priest. But in terms of playing live and seeing the band live, and we all know that's where the world is today, that's where the business is today, it's probably highly unlikely that we see Glenn Tipton performing in any capacity, certainly a full show, maybe coming out for a song or two at the end, like we saw a year or two ago, possibly, but who knows? So KK has now decided to go out and do a band called KK's Priest, and it will include two other former members of Judas Priest. Lead singer Tim Ripper Owens, who of course sang on 2 Judas Priest studio records and a bunch of live material, and recently performed with KK in England with David Ellefson. We had those guys on talking about that, has joined this band, as has Judas Priest drummer Les Binks, who played on Unleashed in the East and a bunch of other classic Priest material, including Stained Class and Hellbent for Leather. So you've got essentially 3 former members of Judas Priest here, one a founding member in KK Downing. The rest of the band is rounded out by guitarist AJ Mills from a band called Hostile and bassist Tony Newton from a band Voodoo 6. This is really, really interesting. KK's quote on this is, he says, I quote, "Forging ahead with KK's Priest was not only inevitable, but essential for me to perform and deliver everything that is expected from me and KK's Priest." KK Downing said in a statement, "Due to the massive demand and overwhelming support from fans around the world, I feel this is where I belong, and a set combining the true classic songs and sound of Priest together with great newly forged metal tracks is what fans can expect when KK Priest is taking to stages. So it sounds like here he's also interested in doing new music with this band. Yeah, it goes on to say the group is working on its debut album. It'll be on the road playing festivals later this year to mark the 50th anniversary of Downing's career. The show will feature a mix of Judas Priest songs and new songs. So that's interesting as well, because we all know that Judas Priest are about to do a 50th anniversary tour because they mark the start of the band when they first came together in 1970. KK Downing, that's really telling there, because KK Downing was hoping to come back as a founding member of the band and be a part of this 50th anniversary celebration that Priest is about to take on. Obviously, that door is closed to him, so now he said, I'll go do it myself with my own band, recruiting a former lead singer of the band and a former drummer of the band. This will be really fascinating to watch. It really will. And look, as fans, let's just be honest. It sucks when we see this happen. Because as much as Priest may sound great right now with Richie Faulkner, and they made a great studio record recently, and they're working on another one, and Priest is Priest, and they're icons and legends, and we know all that. They're about to tour a 50th anniversary tour with only two guys that were really a part of that rich early history. Because we all know that Glenn is not going to be able to take the stage more than likely. I mean, that's highly, highly unlikely, sadly. And then you've got KK as a founding member who also wants to celebrate 50 years. Clearly, the door's closed to him to do it with the band he co-founded. So now he's saying, I'm going to go out there and do it with my own band. I don't begrudge him for doing that, but it just sucks as fans because life is so short and we see all of these guys having health issues, retiring, not able to do it anymore. And you've got a founding member here who wants to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And these guys, it just sucks that they can't get together for the good of the fans, the good of the history of the band, and for the good of presenting this experience in the best of ways with surviving members or members who can do it. And I'm not saying for a minute that that Priest should not include Richie Faulkner because Richie's been a huge contributor to the band. But Andy Sneap has been filling in for Glenn on the bulk of these shows, and Andy does a fine job, but he's a producer. I'm sure that in 2 seconds he would step aside if KK were to come back. But clearly that option was not available to KK, so now he's going to go do this. I think this is going to be a very powerful band. Just like Priest sounds great doing what they're doing as they're currently constituted. Is it the same? No. Do they sound great? Yes. Will KK's thing be the same as Priest? Of course not. No, it couldn't be. Rob's not there. Ian's not there. Glenn's not there. But will it sound great? I bet you it will. I mean, Ripper can still sing his ass off. Many regard Les Binks to be one of the greatest drummers that Priest ever had, if not the finest drummer they had, if he can still play. Nobody's heard Les Binks play in a long time. Now, he did do some of these live shows. But, I think look, I get KK doing this, and I can't blame him for doing it, and I'll be real interested in seeing it and hearing what they do with new music. But as fans, if you're a fan of any band, I don't care who it is, Judas Priest or anybody else, and you've got a band that's 50 years into their career and getting ready for a victory lap celebration, and you have a founding member out there that clearly wants to come back, I mean, it just sucks that you can't mend the bridges. How many examples do we need of people Priest within their own confines has an example of a guy in Glen Tipton who's battling a serious issue. Whether it's that or people passing away or losing their abilities to really do things well, Priest could still be a very, very potent live band and bring back a huge part of their history in KK, but they don't want to do it. And now KK, who also, let's be honest, he retired. He wanted no part of this. Now he wants back in. So he's saying, you know what? I'm going to go do my own thing. It just, I get it. I get both sides of it. But as fans, you know, how many bands tell us, and if you buy this, I mean, I got a bridge to sell you, but how many bands tell us the fans are the boss? It's all about the fans. We're nothing without the fans. Well, I defy you to find a fan. I defy you to find a Judas Priest fan who would not love to see a 50th anniversary tour with KK involved. I defy you to find a Kiss fan who would not like to have seen Kiss play at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. At least 2 songs with the original band. The list goes on and on. That's nonsense. It's about business. It's about ego. It's about politics. That's why these divisions exist with all bands. So KK's Priest, get ready for it. I'll look forward to hearing what they sound like. I think they're going to sound great. I mean, that's a KK Ripper and Les Binks playing classic Priest. I mean, I'm all in. And we'll see what Priest has in store as they've already announced these dates. Now, the other angle that's interesting here for Priest is they've got to be wondering, and this ties in with my next bit of news, they've got to be wondering if they're even going to have their previously scheduled European tour opening for Ozzy. Because Judas Priest was the opening act for Ozzy's European tour dates that had been canceled once already, and you've got to wonder what the odds are of those dates happening.